too much about it now.
Right.
But I am being connected to all of the political Democratic leaders in the state, which is very exciting. It's very good to hear, things that they're concerned about and who they're supporting and why. And, this is probably one of the most senior roles I've ever had in my political career, so I'm learning a lot from the veterans, and I'm also bringing some of my own experience to the table. And when it comes to planning and getting these electives on my team, so a few other things, with Women for Progress is always working on some of our initiatives and just kind of trying to relax in the meantime. So.
Yeah, and you're talking about the Women for Progress initiatives. The Education Committee is in the process of meeting. They will be rolling out an incredible opportunity for the members of Women for Progress to engage in supporting JPS and public education. And I tell you, I'm so excited about this agenda for 2020 and from the Education Committee. We'll have that launch next week, and I want people to stay tuned. And if they'd like to work with that committee and the organization on JPS and public school education, I want you to reach out to us at mail@womenforprogress.net and text us at 601-259-6770. We want you to link hands with us. We're going to be doing some innovative, incredible things around supporting public schools and public education in the state of Mississippi. Also, we have our Women's Business Networking Group that's meeting. They're getting ready to roll out what they're going to be doing for 2020. And we have our PAC, our Public Action Committee PAC, and we want to support women. So you have been selected as director of that PAC. So we are working hard on that.
Yeah.
What are some of the major things that you see us using that particular opportunity to do in the state of Mississippi?
Oh my gosh! So our state has some of the fewest women elected to office in almost every level. I think the last time I checked, we had about 40 or something women mayors out of 299 mayors in the state. And out of supervisors, I believe there were like 12 women supervisors out of over 400 in the state.
Right.
And that number, the same can go for the state legislature, aldermen and councilwomen, commissioners. I don't think we have a single woman commissioner across the state. I see this PAC changing that dynamic. We have to inform women of all these different roles for which they are eligible to run, and encourage them and inspire them to run. A lot of the problems with women running come, one, lack of information, not knowing how to campaign. And as you know, it's a little difficult for women than it is for men, where I've worked for male candidates and they can just switch a blazer and go on by their day. But for women, there's, stockings,
makeup,
what kind of heels,
you gotta have the right
hairs,
color,
jewelry, everything. It's just, it's a completely different ballgame when you're a woman campaigning anywhere in the country, especially in the Deep South, in a place like Mississippi, where we're held to a certain type of standard. So I'm very, very excited to help that effort, to get more women engaged in the political process.
And I say too that even the tough hurdles for women who want to run, many of them have to leave their jobs. So that means that they're missing income that they normally would have had, and so that's a big challenge. And also, when a woman runs, her responsibilities do not go away. She still has to be a mother. She still have to be a wife. She still have to cook. She still have to clean. She still have to. And many times, many women have loved ones that they're caring for also, either at home or someplace else. So she still has all of those responsibilities in addition to trying to run for office and making sure that she runs successfully.
It's definitely a little more difficult sometimes, depending on whether or not you're a man or a woman. And I'm really glad you brought up the money effort, simply because studies show people are more likely to give to male candidates than they are to women.
Yeah.
We've seen, top dollar donors give a male candidate to $5,000, and the same woman candidate asks that same donor, they'll give them $1,000 or something like that. And it's a little difficult, but there are tricks to doing that, right? There are different strategies you can use to run successful races. Some of the things that I've learned from my experiences and from having been to the Women's Campaign School at Yale University is now the Campaign School at Yale. And, I'm really excited to lead those efforts because I believe when we have more women leading and making decisions, they make them for everyone, because women prioritize families, women prioritize working people, and I'm really excited about pushing those efforts here in Mississippi.
Yeah, we're gonna really power up. There's a lot of opportunities coming forward in our city council. There's a lot of seats there that we can look at. There's board positions that we can look at getting more women, and then even just the education piece about why we need more women in public office. We'll be providing opportunities for that through the PAC too. So if you want to support this political action PAC by Women for Progress, to support more women in leadership roles, and we will be supporting male candidates also that we feel champion the issues that are important to women and families.
Yes.
So we'll be putting up a page and website pretty soon. Hopefully our target and launch will be March 1st. But we're very excited about that, and we want you to stay tuned, and we want you to be part of that effort in a very big way. Now, we want to get right into our conversation with our guest, Miss Lisa Ross. We welcome to our program.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Women for Progress radio show.
Thank you, Ms. Jones, for inviting me to be a guest here today for Women for Progress. I want to congratulate the Women for Progress on the award that was given last night by the Magnolia Bar Association. And the Magnolia Bar Association is an association of lawyers that started after African American lawyers were not allowed to be members of the Mississippi Bar Association. So we wanted to find a way to not just provide legal advice for people in the community, but the lawyers in those days wanted to help in the community in many other areas. So the Magnolia Bar was born out of those efforts, and we remain a very vibrant bar association today.
And I want to talk about that just a little bit too, because we have so many lawyers now here in the state of Mississippi, some incredible women lawyers. We have a large group, even within our organization. You, of course, are a member of Women for Progress, and we have so many other members, even that are judges sitting on benches and etc. in trailblazing roles. Why do you feel that the Magnolia Bar Association is still very relevant and needed?
The Magnolia Bar Association is still relevant today because many of the issues that were faced 50 and 60 years ago are still present today, despite our work in desegregating schools and desegregating workplaces. You still have people who are being discriminated against on the basis of their race. In addition, they're being discriminated against on the basis of their sex, sexual orientation, and many other things in the workplace. So we remain vigilant, and we continue to fight those isms that our forefathers started fighting many years ago.
Well, thank you so much. Now, Ms. Ross, before we get into our conversation, which is about impeachment, I want to share with the audience a little bit about you and your work. Now, you have a law firm here in the city of Jackson.
Yes, ma'am.
You've been practicing law for many years. Tell us a little bit about how you got into law and a little bit about your practice here in Jackson.
Well, I came back to Jackson in 1993 after I received my law degree from the University of California, Hastings College of the Law. And people may know Hastings College of the Law, recognize that law school because our Kamala Harris, recent presidential candidate, also graduated from that law school. But I came back here and I worked for Justice Fred Banks on the Mississippi Supreme Court. I was one of his law clerks. I went from his chambers to the chambers of U.S. District Court Judge Henry Wingate, and I worked for 1 year for him. I left there and joined Victor McCheer, who at that time had a law office here in Jackson and in Greenville. I was located here in the Jackson office. That's where I wet my feet and began doing civil rights work.
And in your law firm here, tell us about the practice and what type of law you practice here.
Well, I do a host of things. I represent a local school district, the school district where I was educated, Ken Public School District. I also do a lot of civil rights work. Issues related to women and children are my favorite areas, and many times women and children cannot find lawyers who are willing to take on those cases. So I started taking them on, and now I'm inundated with calls.
Well, I'm always referring you folks, because when a woman calls me and she got an issue, it's a man issue, a home issue, a legal issue, I say Lisa Ross is the person you need to contact. So we appreciate you being a champion for women and for all citizens of Jackson and the state of Mississippi. We appreciate your commitment to it and your passion for it. It's obvious in your work. And then we appreciate your support for Women for Progress because we know that when we call on you, we're going to get the information we need and it's going to be accurate. And so we appreciate you so much and give you a pat on the back for all your work and your effort.
Thank you so much.
So I'm going to get right into our conversation. Our executive producer, Ms. Brown, and I have been talking about having this conversation for some time because there's all types of conflicting information about the impeachment process. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what your level of education is or economic situation, this whole process about impeachment, what is impeachment, what is considered an impeachable offense, all those things seems to be conflicting for us. I was in a conversation at a board meeting the other day, and there were community leaders from all over that have been around a long time, and during the process, each of them, their responses told me that they were also not clear about the process. So tell us what the impeachment process is and why is it important to our system of government in America?
The impeachment process is important to our system of government because it serves as a check and balance. Congress is serving as a check and balance to make sure the President of the United States is not abusing his powers. And without that, then the President would be free to do whatever he chooses. Now, with this recent impeachment that is going on with President Donald Trump, we have seen that President Trump has expanded his powers, presidential powers. And it seems that the United States Senate, which is dominated by white male Republicans, are allowing him to do that, thereby giving up many powers that the Senate has held for years. So the president basically, as we've seen this impeachment process work its way through from the House. First, there was a vote in the House to issue articles or their draft articles of impeachment. They were drafted. They were then presented. The House voted on them with the majority of the vote. That matter moved over to the Senate. And it seems that the Senate had already made up its mind. This is an impeachment where the decision had been made before the process even really got off the ground. That is, the Senate decided we don't want to have evidence. So the president had fought for months to prevent the House or Congress from getting the evidence they needed. Well, they were still able to come up with the articles of impeachment nonetheless. Once that happened and he's in a new venue before the Senate, he says, I want no witnesses. And in every impeachment process, there have been witnesses, except for in this process with President Donald Trump.
And that's the biggest question, I think, for citizens is we are now involved in a trial. Why wouldn't that we hear from the witnesses?
Well, I think what we're used to is trials that we see when we go to the local circuit courthouse or we go to the county courthouse or we're in municipal court where there is a judge and there's a prosecutor and a lawyer defending the person who is accused. And this process It's a little different in that you do have both sides. You have the House bringing the charges, but you have and the Senate is sitting as the jury. Mm-hmm. In many instances, jurors who express, or in most instances in what we're used to in everyday trial, if a juror expressed an opinion about the outcome of the case before the case got started, they would never sit on the jury.
Right.
This process is different because it's operated under Senate rules and not necessarily by the rules that we use in court. Mm-hmm. Although in order to have any fair proceeding, you must have witnesses. That's how you get evidence into the record. When the witness raises his or her right hand and swears to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, that's evidence. We're not seeing that in this case. There are many people who apparently the Republicans do not want these people to give sworn testimony and raise their right hands and tell the truth and nothing but the truth, right, because it would hurt their positions.
Right.
And their position is that we want to maintain President Trump in office under whatever means necessary. And the means necessary this time is that we will not receive any witnesses. We will not hear from any witnesses. Apparently they're saying there is nothing a witness can say that would change our minds. Remember, President Trump has been impeached. That's just one part of the process. Mm-hmm. He has to be removed from office by the Senate, and the Senate says, well, and a lot of them have recognized, yes, what he did was wrong. He shouldn't have interfered with the military aid that was going to the Ukraine. Mm-hmm. He shouldn't have pressured the president to investigate the Bidens in exchange for the military aid. Mm-hmm. But that, they say, is not enough for them to convince them to remove him from office.
Mm. Well, that's, I think, to me, the most critical piece for us as citizens. This is a serious situation, and we have a Congress that is not able to protect us in our democratic rights here in our country. And I think the thing that I get so irritated by is when I'm hearing citizens do not understand how critical that is to our society and to our country. And so speak to why this is so important to us to have a Congress that is looking out and able to make decisions for all of the people and for the best interest of people and not for their own personal interests.
Well, this Congress seems to have taken a step back. They don't seem to be looking out for the interests of the American citizens. And what we have to consider whenever Congress or the Senate is acting, they should be acting with a view to how will we impact our system of justice going forward. Mm-hmm. And here the focus seems to be on how can we protect the president mm-hmm. of the United States mm-hmm. instead of how can we protect our democracy. Mm-hmm. That's why the vote is so important. Here in Mississippi, we work to get people out to the polls to vote, and still we don't have people coming out mm-hmm. in the numbers that we need. Because, see, if we had Mike Espy in that seat in the United States Senate, that vote would have been different. Mm-hmm. He would not have taken the position that Cindy Hyde-Smith has taken. Right. And I believe that Mike Espy would have voted for us to hear witnesses. Yeah. And that's why we need to go out to vote so that we can put people in office. So when they get to office, they're not going to focus on the position. They're going to focus on doing what's right for the citizens of this country. Right.
And we have to go ahead. Please.
I want to add a little comment to this dialogue about impeachment versus removal. Mm-hmm. Now, we know that if the president were to be removed, the vice president would be the new sworn in as president. Mike Pence has done a good job, I think, of insulating himself from the president's antics, I believe. He's not tweeting and retweeting. He's not out there, saying these crazy things about, upholding white supremacy or anything else of that nature. Is that what we want as Democrats? I'm a Democrat. Is that what we want as Democrats? Because if someone like a Mike Pence comes in, it's 10 months till the election, the mood of the country will have changed. And I want to win in November.
Well, we want to win, and I hope that this effort by the Republicans in the Senate would backfire.
Exactly.
It will invigorate us to go out and vote, and we will go out and vote in gross. But I want to disagree with you on Mike Pence. I don't think that Mike Pence has insulated himself because Mike Pence is tied up in the Ukraine deal as well, and he knows that the president has tried to obstruct Congress. So the interesting thing is that if we could knock Trump out, and the Senate would vote, and I believe they recognize this, if they voted to remove Trump from office, then Mike Pence would be subject to removal as well.
Because of his connections to the Ukraine.
Right. And then Nancy Pelosi would emerge as president of the United States. And that would be a winner. I would love to see Nancy in the seat for 10 months.
Well, Lisa, that's why we have you here, to connect the dots for us, I tell you. And then I want to talk a little bit, too, about, I think what's important, I want to share with our audience, too, this whole idea of an impeachable offense. And one conversation I'm hearing is we keep reflecting back to what happened with Bill Clinton. And a lot of it, I think, is about a skirt and what happened in all the privacy of the Oval Office and all of that. But talk to us about this particular impeachment process with Trump as it relates to this. We keep hearing over and over and over again, and I'm hearing from my Republican friends over and over again like it's a recording that they've been listening to over and over again, that this is not an impeachable offense, and that all of this process that we're going through is just a waste of time for us.
Well, the Constitution says that a president can be impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, and certainly abuse of powers is a high crime, and obstruction of Congress should be as well a high crime. The way the Republican senators who support Trump has couched this impeachment, and they say it falls short, and they cannot remove him, is because his conduct is not good, but it's not a high crime and it's not a misdemeanor. So far, Congress, the Senate also has the power to remove other officials in the United States, namely federal judges. And I think today the Senate has removed 8 federal judges, but judges have a requirement that is not imposed on the president. Judges must always act with good conduct, and if their conduct falls below that standard, then that they can be removed. And so the senators are now saying that, the president does not have to comport himself with good conduct. Although we may not like the way he's acted, we may not like that he wakes up tweeting every morning, and that he tweets every night, and that he attacks veterans who have served this country with honor. We may not like those things about him, but that's just bad conduct. It's not a high crime, and it's not a misdemeanor.
And I fail to agree with them on that level, because the other thing is these particular actions, all of them impact our country in a major way. When we how we are portrayed in the rest of the world, for as our safety and our men that are out there fighting, for us, our young children, young boys and young women that are out there fighting in all parts of the military. If we do not have actions that are inclusive and put our children in these harm's way, that's something to me alone why we need to get rid of him.
The President of the United States should be an example for all citizens. He should comport himself every day with good conduct. He should be kind. Certainly he's going to make decisions that may cut against people every day, but it's a way to make decisions. You don't have to mock disabled people. You don't have to say bad things about people of different races. You don't have to kiss up to white supremacists. And the president has done that. If Barack Obama had kissed up to any group that was believed to be radical and black and African American, we would have heard an outcry in Congress. But today we see people in the White House who are espousing white supremacist views as it relates to immigration in this country, and nothing happens, they remain on their jobs. That's why 2020 is pivotal for us. We must go out to vote. We must take everybody we know to vote. We must make sure that everybody we know takes somebody else to vote. Because unless we can change the person who's seated in the White House, things will remain the same or become worse, because the senators have demonstrated to us that they are not going to fight for us. They are not going to hold the president accountable. So we must hold the Senate accountable. And we have a very crucial race coming up here in Mississippi. We need that one vote. That one vote could make a key difference in whether President Trump will be allowed, if reelected, to continue to comport himself the way that he has.
And I want to reiterate to our audience, too, the importance of us connecting the dots to all of this. And it's not just about this one office, as Ms. Ross has already stated. We have to really think smart when we go to the polls, and when we spend that vote, and that's what you're doing when you're going to the polls. You're spending your vote. We have to spend it wisely. We have to make sure that it is really working for us as a whole, not just for you as an individual, but you have to think about how is it impacting your community? How is it impacting your state? How is it impacting your city? And how, I want women to hear this, how is it impacting your pocketbooks? That's so very important. And I think I'm a grandmother of 5 grandchildren. And I think one of the major concerns for me as a grandparent is when my children are listening to the news, and they're listening to conversations when they're out there among other children and even in other environments. And they hear our president doing some of the things that he's done. And many times they feel like he's getting off on doing bad things. And I heard a citizen the other day, it was a roundtable discussion on the news, and she says, well, I don't need my president to be an example for myself and my family. I don't need him to be an example for my country. I just want to make sure that that we have financial success and that I'm safe. And when I hear those types of things, it puts, I am fearful, because these are citizens who truly believe this. And I believe everybody has a right to believe and vote the way they want to vote. But those kind of things as a grandparent, that's scary.
Yes. Well, I think that if you look straight at this impeachment process and what's going on in the country today, it's about preserving white male supremacy. And you must understand why senators want to maintain President Trump in office, because there are many federal judges' positions that remain vacant. And President Trump has filled many of them, but there are many more out there. He has gotten away from the process that the White House has followed for many years, that is having the ABA, the American Bar Association, to vet federal judges to determine if these judges are in fact qualified to serve as federal judges. President Trump has thrown that aside. If he wants you as a federal judge, he's going to make you a federal judge. And why are we concerned about his appointments as federal judges? Because if you look at them, he has overwhelmingly supported white males for federal judges in this country. And what better way to preserve white supremacy than to dominate your courts with white males who have very conservative views? And these are judges who Trump has nominated, who have fought against civil rights. But if you nominate them and they have a seat in a lifetime position on the court, then they are able to rule on civil rights cases. And I could tell you, as a person who practiced before federal judges in civil rights cases, it is very important that you have judges who will follow the law and will not interpret civil rights laws in such a narrow way that you take away any meaning that the laws have. So that's why I think the Senate is reluctant to remove President Trump, because they have much work that they need to do to shore up their position.
And I think we as citizens too forget how important that our judges are, especially in this state. And when we have a Congress who we know right now are not making decisions for all the people, then it comes down to where we are local.
If you look at President Trump and contrast him to President Obama and what he did with federal judges here in Mississippi, for many, many years, we only had one African-American federal court judge, and that was Henry Wingate. But with Barack Obama was able to give us 3 additional African-American federal judges. This is a position that the Magnolia Bar had fought for years, saying that there were African-American judges who were qualified, or African-American lawyers who were qualified to sit as judges, but none of the presidents were nominating us. But here comes Barack Obama, and we now have James Graves, who sits on the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and that's a very important court because that court overlooks or reviews all of the decisions that are made by federal district court judges in Mississippi, Texas, and Louisiana. And Judge Graves recently, about a year ago, wrote a very important decision in the housing discrimination area. So, having judges who look like us and who have similar experiences that we have, you will see that they bring another dynamic to the table that maybe has been left off. Previously, these judges, Judge Graves, when he meets with other Fifth Circuit judges, they vote in panels or they vote en banc with the whole court. He's able to go in and say, well, you're wrong about this, and this is the way it should be. And if he presses his position and he wins, we come out victorious. We also have Judge Carlton Reeves, who's now on the bench, a result of President Barack Obama. We have Judge Deborah Brown in the Northern District, who is the first African-American female to sit on the bench, thanks to President Barack Obama. Contrast Trump. So far with Trump, he has nominated Judge Sewell Olzadine from the Gulf Coast, he's in the Southern District of Mississippi. He's nominated him to go to the Fifth Circuit, and right now he has not been able to gain the support. His support has fallen a little short for him going to the Fifth Circuit. A vote could still come on him, and he could emerge and be elevated to the Fifth Circuit. Here in the Southern District of Mississippi, Trump has nominated Corey Wilson, a very conservative lawyer, to sit on the federal court bench here in Mississippi. Corey has fought. He was my opponent in a lawsuit that my brother-in-law's brother and I have been involved in for the last 4 years. My brother-in-law's brother is a Mississippi Supreme Court judge, former Mississippi Supreme Court Judge Fred Banks, the second African-American to serve on that court. Well, 4 years ago, my brother-in-law, who had been a long-time supervisor in Madison County, was the election commissioners, we believe, stole the election from him by not counting the affidavit ballots. And we've been embroiled in a lawsuit, and we're now at the Supreme Court. My brother-in-law was recently re-elected to the position. Wow. But the matter still has not been resolved by the Supreme Court, and we're still awaiting a decision. Voting, there again, voting is very crucial. We shouldn't just think about voting in November 4th, every 4 years. Go to the polls. Every time that poll
time there's an opportunity,
you go and you cast your ballot.
Yeah.
Even if you're on the losing end, because remember, we were on the losing end many elections, and we voted and we returned to the polling places. And then one year we went and voted, and Barack Obama emerged as our president, something that I never thought that in my lifetime would happen. And when he got to that seat, he did do many important things. He changed many things. And in fact, in my life, I could see his impact just in the courts. When I go in the court and I see people have to greet these African-American judges, and treat them with the same kind of dignity and respect as they do white judges.
Right.
And they have to follow their decisions whether we like them or not.
Right.
And I'm not suggesting that every decision by an African American judge you will like,
Right.
because there are some that I don't like, but I still have to follow the decisions of the court. So, we remember the importance of voting and the real impact that voting has on our day-to-day lives. Because people don't think about judges until they have to appear before
Right.
a judge. And when you appear before a judge, you want a judge who's going to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
You want a judge
Inclusive.
who is going to treat everybody similarly. If you're similarly situated, you're not going to treat one person one way because they're black, and you're not going to treat another person another way because they're white.
Mm-hmm.
And in Madison County, where I live, we still have not elected a black judge to the circuit court, and we hope that will change soon.
Mm-hmm.
Because we need judges from all walks of life, black and white. We need male and female judges, because judges bring different perspectives to the table. A male judge may look at a picture and see one thing, and I look at the picture and I see something very different. If we diversify our courts, I think that we will be able to ensure that all people do stand equal before the law, and that no one is above the law. And going back to the United States Senate, their decision not to allow witnesses in this impeachment trial with President Trump sends a strong message that now the president of the United States is above the law. The question is, what happens in 2020 if we are victorious and we send a Democrat president to the White House? Will those same rules apply, or will we flip-flop and say, okay, the president is not above the law?
Right.
Yes.
And I want to reiterate again too, and is to all of those persons that are listening, is this is not a Democratic or Republican issue. This is an American issue, and we have to protect the laws that are laid out there for us. We have to make sure that there is balance in this country, because we have a country of different people: black, brown, white, yellow, all types of people, that we need to make sure that everybody has access to equal representation, and also the same rights as whether your neighbor or wherever you are. And that's what this comes down to. And I think when we hear all of this division that's going on within us in our country, that we have been so divided by this particular process. And even before this process, I think where we've gotten politically, we have got to fix that issue. We have to come back together, and so as a people. And when we continue to have these issues where we have a party that clearly thinks that they're okay for us to be divided, and thinks it's fortunate for them for us to be divided, then we have a problem. Teresa, you was about to say something.
No, I wasn't. I think y'all are right on all of those points. It's important for me, working on the county level, municipal level out in Clarksville. I realized how important it is to have people there who represent you. Mayor Chuck Espy appointed the first black female chief of police in Clarksville, a place that's over 70% black, that's never had a black chief of police. And that same trend was for every department head in that community. And those people make the decisions on the budget. They make the decisions on the rules that govern that community. And when you don't have people at the top who represent you, you're not going to get represented. And that's why it's important to vote at the very smallest level all the way up to the presidency. I want to go back to what you said about what's in your pockets. For me, racism is a non-starter. Sexism is a non-starter. There are a few other things that are just non-starters for me. And I just realized from engaging with some of my Republican friends, that's just not the case for them. They look at what's in their pocket. This is how this is going to benefit me financially. And I think we as African American people and Democrats have to adopt some of that similar approaches. We are not benefiting from this presidency. That resources are not flowing into our communities. We're not benefiting from some of these local elections and statewide elections that are not prioritizing the needs of our communities and the needs of the children who are going to schools, who are not getting adequate education and resources to learn and compete with everyone else in the country. In order to change those dynamics, we have to connect the dots and engage people to voting. And I don't know the best pathway to do that. Ms. Lisa, now you've been doing this for quite some time, especially in the civil rights cases. What do you think we as Women for Progress and other people can do to help connect those dots so people understand the importance of how this vote is going to impact that ticket you get when you have to go to court or whatever it may be in your day-to-day lives?
Well, I think you lead by example. You're telling everybody else to vote. You make sure that you vote. You make sure that everybody else around you vote. If people, when you're faced with Republicans who don't, or who are not bothered by racism or sexism, if you have an opportunity, challenge them direct to their face. If they make a racist joke, no, you can't make a racist joke in my presence, and this is why it's wrong. Mm-hmm. If you say something against women, you stand up against it as a woman. I'm going to stand up against it. I get the phone slammed down in my face many days because I'm going to stand up for a woman. Mm-hmm. You're not going to call my office and denigrate a woman. You're not going to call my office and denigrate somebody on the basis of their race or sex. The conversation ends, and the person who is calling is more likely to end it than I am because I'm going to stand up for what I believe is right. I think we can't buy into the notion that voting is for how is it going to personally benefit Lisa Ross. When I go and cast my ballot, I don't vote for Lisa Ross. Mm-hmm. I vote for the people who don't have a voice. Yeah. A person who can't pick up the phone and call President Trump, who can't pick up the phone and call Cindy Hyde-Smith, who can't pick up the phone and call Roger Booker. Those people need a voice. I'm not voting my financial interests.
You're voting your values.
I'm voting my values. I'm going to get up and go to work every day, no matter who's in the White House. So money will come if you do the right thing.
Yeah, I think that's you spoke to it right on. And as we move forward in 2020, that's the focus for Women for Progress Radio. And this show is our executive producers who's working to connect conversations that we can help folks connect the dots. And, we hear a lot about that connect the dots issues because what we mean by when we say connect the dots is we need to help all of it. We together have to help understand. We want to connect the policy that's not only in our local administrations, but also on the federal level. We need to make sure that we understand how that policy impacts us, especially us as women, because the policies that are around women, they impact a broad community. When you're talking about economic development and how it impacts women, our ability to be able to really to make our own money, to be able to start our own businesses, be able to raise our children, to educate our children. Because when we talk about the education policy and when we know that public schools are not fully funded, that impacts our children. That impacts the lives of women. Because when we are out here working every day, our biggest concern is what is going on with our children in public schools? Are they being educated fully? Are they getting what they need? And when we are focused on something beyond work, when we're at work, we can't be all that we can be. We cannot be as impactful as we want to be. So we have to continue to connect that dots for each other and make sure that we understand policy. And it's not just enough for us to share with each other. We have to make sure whenever we can that we be at the table getting this information firsthand. And I say to a lot of women who, of course, we work every day and we committed to our jobs and we don't have a lot of time that we can take off. So many of them can't come to the Capitol and be part of that process and listen in on that process. But we as women need to make sure that we are finding resources like Women for Progress, like Women for Progress Radio, so Legal Women Voters, so many others. If you're connected to social media in any way, make sure that you have outlined 4 or 5 sources that you can stay connected to so you can stay informed on the process. One of the things I'm excited about our Women for Progress radio and our podcast is now being seen all over this country. I had a young woman sent us a handwritten letter from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Wow.
And I was like, who writes handwritten letters anyway? She wrote almost a page and a half letter expressing to our organization how she uses our Facebook page to stay informed on the issues, how that this particular organization and the work we do has empowered her in her community. So that kind of things, when we say we have to keep connected, we keep sharing our stories in every way we can, and there's many opportunities for us to do that now. It doesn't matter whether we're in Jackson, Mississippi, or Baton Rouge, or California, we are touching women all over. I got a call from the East Coast, an organization that was doing similar work. They called on us and said, pat on the back for the work that you all are doing here. How can we connect to empower each other? So we're reaching these individuals all over this country, and we want to remind you again, if you want to get connected to the work of Women for Progress, give us a call at 601-259-6770. Email us at mail, M-A-I-L, at womenforprogress.net. Go to our Facebook page at Women for Progress MS. We're on Instagram, and also we're on Twitter. And every Thursday, you can catch our radio program on Channel 14 Comcast, or go to Spreaker, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, and you can get our shows there. But we want you to be part of the process. Reach out to us. Let our executive producer know the issues that you feel important to your community that you would like to stay informed on. We want your engagement. If you have women that that you would like us to talk to on the Working Woman Report, we want you to reach out to us. We would love to have your recommendations to be part. This is a conversation of us together. We want to stay informed. We want to get empowered. We want to do the work together. We, as an organization, and the members that are part of this organization cannot do this work without your support. We appreciate your support. We do not take it lightly, and we love the idea that you staying engaged with us, sharing our work, and making sure that you are part of that work. I want to remind you again that Lunch and Learn, First Tuesday's Lunch and Learn is coming up next Tuesday. We're going to be again at the Capitol Club downtown. The lunch starts at 11:30. The cost of lunch, which includes a full course meal, dessert, beverages, and everything, tax, gratuity, is all included for the very low price of $20 per person. You can pay at the door, or you can go to our website at womenforprogress.net and pay online. But we want you to come and be part of the conversation. We have one of our local Mississippi legislators who's coming to update us on what's been going on so far in the Mississippi legislature. And we're also going to be talking about criminal justice reform. And also we have 14 new members that are incredible that we'll be inducting in Women for Progress. So we want you to come and support them also. And there's always powerful information at Lunch and Learn. I guarantee you're going to walk away with some news that you can use, some information that you're going to be able to share with somebody. If you need help empowering your business, your woman-owned business, and you want information about empowering your business, you want to connect to other business women, other attorneys that are there. If you need help in those particular areas, you have somebody else who need help, come to our Lunch and Learn, and we'll be glad to help and support you and engage. And also, we want to recommend the law firm of Lisa Ross for all of your needs. And so will you give people a number and location where they can contact? Because I always say, Lisa, I know you have a particular practice, but I always say to folks, whatever your situation is, call Miss Ross. If she can't fix it, she will refer you to somebody who can. So give a contact number.
My contact number is 601-981-7900. I'm located right here in Jackson, and I'm listed in the Yellow Pages in case you forget the number. Mm-hmm. And I just want to, before we end today, want to recognize the power that Black women in this country have, and call up on us to realize every day when we get up and go to work that we have the ability to affect change, and every day we should try to go out and do justice. And, you know, it may be a small way, it may be a large thing, but let's do justice. And as we turn our face to November of 2020, let's give the senators some help. Let's send Mike Espy to Congress. Let's bring Cindy Hyde-Smith home.
Well, thank you so much for saying that, because we always want to urge women to maximize their power and their resources and their skills and talents to uplift themselves and their community. So thank you so much for saying that. And so we want to continue to make sure that whatever space you're in, that you're inviting other women to that space, to make sure that you're sharing information and that you're giving her a pat on the back when she needs it. I tell you, sometimes, just recently, I was having a rough day. I think I was on roller skates the entire day. And about around 4 o'clock, I got some flowers in my office, and I was so excited. I said, oh, my husband sent me flowers. So I got excited. And then I opened up the card. It was for one of my sisters within Women for Progress, who sent me flowers and just said, just because. And I appreciate the work that you're doing, and this is for you. And that was unbelievable. And not that we have to share flowers, but there's so many other ways we can support. Teresa, what are some of the ways, with our last couple of minutes that we have left, that you empower women? I tell you, well, your walk itself is empowering, but go ahead.
Well, one of the things I really like to do is I like to give thank you cards.
Yeah.
So I love expressing my gratitude because, one, I know how it feels to be on the receiving end of that, right. And two, it just reminds me to just be grateful and to let people know that you're appreciative of them. So I have like customized thank you cards that I keep in my purse, and I'm always like, if I think to do it, I say I need to write a thank you card. So I'm always giving just handwritten notes. It's old school, but I do it. That's what I like to do.
I like that, because when you take time to write a note, that says a lot these days when we are so plugged into social media. And I think one of the things that I like about you also, Teresa, is you share your resources and your talents. And I think that's empowering.
Well, I'm always resourceful. If you need anything, it's within my wheelhouse and able to do it, I do it. I believe God pours things into you. You should pour it out. Right. You should be empty when you leave this planet. And I want to be able to pour out everything that I have to help whoever needs it along my path. Right.
And I have to say about you too, Teresa, I'm a huge cheerleader of you and your work. But one of the reasons is because you are so committed and you are so passionate.
Thank you.
And the information you do share with me, I can bank on it. And I love that kind of information. That's good information. So we're going to wrap up. Attorney Ross, thank you so much. We appreciate you so much. And you've been so patient with us today, and we appreciate that too. But we just love you, and we love your work, and we want you to keep moving on, and whatever we can do to support you, please let us know. You've been tuned in to another edition of Women for Progress Radio. Thanks so much to Ms. Juanita Brown, our executive producer, for scheduling and coordinating this conversation for us today. You can see it again on Comcast Channel 14 on Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. And also it'll be rebroadcast also on all of our radio networks too on Thursday. And this has been on Facebook too, so you want to share this with you, share it with your friends and reshare it, and make sure you stay tuned every week to Women for Progress Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
Yay!
Okay. Thank you so much for your patience, Lisa.